Okay, so welcome everyone. It's a pleasure to see you, Monica, again after a while.
It's a pleasure for me to be with you, and I missed you. But I know that you enjoyed a lot with Alice and Gabriele, so I'm very happy for that.
A ver qué número
We
es.
enjoyed.
No, he vuelto a entrar en info, he entrado por otro servidor porque siempre no he podido entrar. He bajado otra vez todas las transacciones.
Okay, good. Okay, so we had a couple of sessions with Gabriele and with Alice, so very interesting topics and a lot of things to learn. I believe the learning path we are doing is so precious for all of us. Thanks to Monica and Gabriele and Alice, who are very high-skilled professionals, and so we are treasuring a lot all the training lessons that you are doing. So thank you so much, first of all, for designing with us this learning path for the whole company. I believe this is a true value that we are providing, and it's a true value for Marquin, so for Marquin's employees. So I'm very happy again to go on with this learning path. Today, Monica has prepared a very interesting, as usual, training class, where we were going to go a little bit deeper in analyzing how to solve our problems, daily problems. I say working problems, not our problems in life, unfortunately, but the working problems, our day by day obstacles with design thinking. So I would like Monica to start. Please, everyone, as usual, remember to close your microphone and your webcam so that we don't have technical issues. And I will leave the floor now to Monica. Thank you.
So thank you, Giuseppe. It's really a pleasure for me to be here today again with you, sharing some knowledge about a very interesting topic, which is design thinking, and design thinking especially as a methodology to solve problems. As usual, the presentation, well, first of all, let's try to be interactive. I know that you were very interactive in the latest sessions, so please don't be shy. Share questions, ideas, or any comment. In the meantime, I know that design thinking it's a rather well-known topic, so I imagine, I think that many of you already know something about this methodology, and let's be interactive. So interrupt me, share, ask questions, or do any comment about how you already use design thinking in your daily life. What I particularly like about this methodology is that design thinking helps us increase our cognitive flexibility. And being flexible, we know that it's a skill we can practice. And it's a high valuable skills because we are living complex times, we are living times of very quick change, and getting used to be flexible, to be empathic, to be open to collaboration, it's very important. So let's deep dive about design thinking. Design thinking is a methodology. We will see how it was developed, where it was developed in the latest years, but it's above all a mindset, a way of approaching problems, a way of thinking. And if I may say, Giuseppe, it's a methodology thought for innovation, thought for the business world, but it's also a methodology and a mindset that can help us solve personal problems and problems in our daily life. So once we know the methodology, once we have it in our blood. We can really practice it in very, very many different situations. It originates from the design field, but since a very long time, it's come out of laboratories to be used in various industry, in various sectors, from the public sector to private companies, to tackle different and diverse challenges with its core idea. And maybe you will think it's some sort of fixed thought that I have, which is empathy. So putting our client, our stakeholder in a larger sense at the center of our process. But first of all, let's start about thinking about different types of problems. What you see on the left in the slide is some sort of a scheme, which is the so well-known Cunevin framework. Cunevin framework was developed by a Welsh consultant, Dave Snowden, about 20 years ago. And it's a framework trying to analyze and set each type of problem in its specific territory. Cunevin means habitat in Welsh. According to David Snowden, all the problems we encounter, we have to face in our lives, can be somehow divided into 5 main categories. So let's start from bottom right. These are the obvious problems. When we are in face of an obvious problem, we have to sense it, so try to understand. We have to categorize it, so understand which type of problem it is, and then we can find a solution to our problem. Best practice help us, but in this case of simple problems, for example, the bulb is not operating and I have to change the bulb on my desk, for example, the problem might be very obvious and the solution, it's an easy one. When we get to the second part of this scheme, we face complicated problems. Complicated problems need that we sense them, try to analyze, and then we find a solution. We can use good practices, such as, for example, manuals. An example of complicated problem is, for example, to build a bridge. Building a bridge is something complicated, but bridges have been built by human beings since a very long time. There are good practices, there are rules, there are manuals, and together, in collaboration, we can build our bridge. When we get to the second part, let's say the left side of this schedule, we enter a much more complex territory. And this is the territory which is inhabited by complexity. So in this frame, we have all the problems which are complex problems. When we have to face a complex problem, the first useful thing is to make a trial, somehow try a solution, and then you check how the solution works, and you progressively develop a solution. Complex problems are all these problems that are connected with the different and diverse stakeholders. A classical, typical example that was made in literature is the example of a pandemic. So now we have not only a theoretical example, but we lived throughout a pandemic ourselves. That was a typical example of complex problem. The complex problem is very different from a complicated problem because you don't have a sure solution. You have to try. You have to test different solution, and then you go towards the possible correct and final solution. That is the territory of emergent solutions. The fourth part is chaos. Well, chaos, it's any typical problem such as where the situation is completely destroyed. It could be, for example, an earthquake or any huge and main calamity we might face. In this case, the first thing to do is to act. So you first act, then you sense, you see the results, and then you go ahead towards a solution. The fifth and last type of problems are those problems which are still unknown. Let's say we don't have already sorted out them, so we have to deep dive into such problems and decide if they are obvious, complicated, complex, or chaotic. When we deal with design thinking, it can be very helpful, especially when we deal with complexity. Any time that we deal with human beings, with different stakeholders, with different opinions, design thinking can help us having a structured methodology and a structured path to go through the problem and try to solve it. The basic idea about design thinking is that you cannot solve a problem only with part of your brain. We, as human beings, can develop both convergent thinking and divergent thinking. Convergent thinking, it's the most logical and analytical part of our brain, which is more linear and consequential, which is fundamental to solve or to apply precise procedures. It's all the logical part, the, let's say, engineer part in our brain. And then we have the divergent thinking, which is the most creative and multi-directional part of our thought, which allows us to explore different perspectives, different solutions, which is really creativity applied. And the good news is that to solve a problem, you need both parts of your brain. Starting from this consideration, design thinking is structured through a different set of phases that brings us by hand through the process of solving a problem. The key principles of the methodology is that you put people first. So you should put your target at the center and always start by trying to get a very good understanding of what your target needs. And this can be true for any type of target. That can be a client, your manager, it can be your colleague, someone asking you anything. It can be also your wife, your husband, or your partner, any person around you. But it shall be put at the center of the process, starting from understanding the needs, the strengths, the aspiration, what people really believe, think, and that should be put at the center of the process. Communication, it's an important part of the process, communicating visually, inclusively, always trying to pay attention to choose the right language and the right way to communicate to the different targets. Collaboration is also a key part of the methodology. You cannot develop design thinking by yourself, but it's a collaborative methodology. You work with other people and you let you inspire by what other people do. And that's a quote I very much like: you build ideas on other people's ideas. You don't work in parallel threads of thought, but you work together. And finally, another basic principle, which is very important also for other methodologies, is the iteration. So iterate, test and try, and trial and error. So proceeding by progressive tests of the solution you are developing. So that's the basis of design thinking. Let's deep dive a little bit more, trying to understand how it works. Design thinking is a human-centered approach to innovation that draws from the designer's toolkit to integrate the needs of people, the possibility of technology, and the requirements for business success. That's Tim Brown from IDEO. IDEO is a company based in California. They are also doing a very interesting online university. You can attend from wherever you are. And the process, the design process, is represented by the squiggle. This squiggle designed by Damien Neumann. So you start from uncertainty, from trying to understand which patterns are in the problem you are trying to solve, and understanding the partner, getting insights by speaking with the people, listening to the people, looking at the people. So trying to have a very comprehensive approach of understanding the issues in front of you, you can little by little get a concept and finally get to the design, to the solution, to the possible way to solve your problem with a progressive approach, starting from complexity, from confusion, and getting through patterns and insights to certainty and to a possible solution. Traditionally, design thinking is divided into 5 steps: from framing the problem, then taking some risks to find a solution, then you choose and you get your possible solution. The first step is empathize. We will go through a little bit in depth of each phase later. So understanding the user, the customer's need, your stakeholder need. The second step is define, so fine-tuning the key issues. And this, again, it's very important because you have to define the problem clearly, because the risk is that you go ahead trying to solve a problem which is not actually the real problem. So going in depth, defining clearly the problem together with the stakeholder, it's very important. Then the brainstorming phase, we will see a little video later on the creative problem solving approach. It's the most well-known maybe phase of design thinking, but it's very important. So it's a key competence to use brainstorming in the right way. And this brings through the idea, the process of ideating a solution. And then we develop prototypes, which are the first attempt to solve a problem, to represent the possible solution of the problem, and finally the test, which is, let's say, the way to try out ideas and gathering feedbacks. Feedbacks are also a key step in the process. Design thinking requires a specific mindset, which is a designer mindset, which is made up by empathy, by integrative thinking, so building ideas on other people's ideas, let other people fertilize our ideas, not being jealous of what we have created, but developing together. Optimism, resilience, you should not get bored or get tired at finding new solutions and testing your solution, and also accept that you might have committed a mistake. Experimentation and collaboration. It's again person-centered, putting always at the center the person. It's cooperative, so you work with other people and you try to integrate multiple perspectives with a different point of view, always with an optimistic approach and an experimental approach, which means learning from mistakes. Nobody of us, none of us wants to make mistake or likes making mistakes, but really it's through mistakes that we improve. And the process of prototyping and testing is a central process in design thinking. Well, the benefits, well, first of all, fun. You enjoy working with other people, greater collaboration, greater engagement of people, because it's an engaging methodology. Solutions which are more suited to needs. So better solution, in other words, less blocks and breaks, because you work with other people, and when the atmosphere is positive, you can increase your creativity and you can work smoothly together. You see that there are a lot of positive aspects in design thinking. Another way to present the methodology is the so-called rather famous double diamond approach, which was developed around 20 years ago by the British Design Council in London. And which is represented in this image, which will zoom in the next slide. The process, the double diamond, expresses the two main phases, which is the first phase of problem setting, and then the phase of problem solving. And each phase is made up by two different steps. So let's see the problem setting phase. It's divided into two phases. So the first phase, it's a divergent one, which is represented by this triangle, which is an open triangle. The open triangle reminds us that we are in a divergent phase. We are working mostly with our creative part, with the creative part of our brain, and we shall be open in this phase to as many contributions as possible. It's a phase of the empathy where we try to understand, where we ask questions, open questions. So we exercise active listening, we observe, we look at people, at behavior, at nonverbal clues, and that's the discovery phase or empathy phase. Then the second phase, it's the definition. In the definition, you see the triangle, it's a triangle closing, which means that we are in a convergent phase. The convergent phase helps us defining as precisely as possible the problem, which is actually the problem we are facing and then the problem we have to solve. At the end, when we are, let's say, in the middle of the process, the second phase opens, the second diamond, and again, in the development phase or ideation phase, we will use the divergent thought. Again, in this creative phase, we shall collect as many ideas as possible. No idea is too crazy, so even crazy ideas can help build a feasible and possible solution. And in the final triangle, again, a convergent phase, which is the delivery phase. You see, the scheme is very simple in its visual representation, and it's easy to remember. And help us always remember that both the problem setting and the problem solving phases are a mixture of divergent and convergent thinking. What I notice when also we run workshops with people is that most human beings tend to be convergent, tend to want to agree with other people as soon as possible. But the divergent phase, let's say the phase where we open our minds and we collect as many ideas, as many point of views as possible, is a crucial one to get an exact idea of the problem in the first diamond and to find a feasible and correct solution in the second diamond. So starting from the challenge, which is our problem, through this process, we can get to a possible outcome, to a possible solution. But a crucial element in the design thinking methodology is made up by these arrows. The arrows reminds us that it's not a linear process. It's not starting from one point and getting to the other point with no stops, with no mistake, with no going back to check again. So don't be scared by going back, by asking again, by watching, making observations, making steps to better deep dive and understand what is the problem, what people are really concerned of. Because that's a part of the methodology. And as I already said before, iteration, it's a key part of the logic of this methodology, as in most agile methodologies. So put the person at the center, iterate, communicate, use also visual communication to share your solutions, and that could be a draft, that could be a one slide PowerPoint, that could be any possible visual tool that you can produce to align as much as possible with your target, the stakeholder for which you are solving a problem. The two diamonds are the first diamond helps people understand, and it's understanding and not assuming. So I assume that there is a problem. No, it's I understand. So, and I understand through empathy, through active listening, through communication, which are the key issues of the people affected by the problem. And we gather the information through this phase to define the challenge and define the problem. And the second diamond is about developing the solution. It's about finding different possible answers and also contaminating each other to deliver the solution in an experimental way, which is already in itself a prototype, And when I build a prototype, I know that it's not the final product. Final product is to come and will arrive in a later moment. I don't know if there are any questions, if the process is clear. I very much like this visual representation because it sticks to my mind and reminds me of the different phases and reminds me that going back, it's not a problem. It's part of the process. So it's correcting. It's about correcting. It's about reiterating. It's about going back to ask further questions. So don't be afraid to go back and forth in the process of problem solving. I don't know if there are any type of reactions or questions. Otherwise, I go ahead. Because now we would like to go a little bit in depth of the 5 steps we saw. The methodology was developed between Stanford University and London, but the logical scheme it's the same. So this is more the Californian, let's say, model, which you also find in the IDEO methodology, the consulting company I mentioned before. The phase is so empathy. I have a problem, so how I deal with it. And it's about understanding the challenge, preparing the research, inspiring yourself. In this phase, as we will see, it's all the part of contact with the stakeholders, observations, understanding, questions. Then I learned something. So through the empathy phase, but that now I collected a lot of information, maybe, or quite a lot of information. How do I interpret them? So which are the insights that I can take? And it's about telling stories, searching for meaning. Stories. It's the sense-making process that we do, identifying the opportunities. There will be challenges, there will be threats, there will be opportunities. And then at the center, the ideation, the brainstorming phase, so where I see an opportunity, what can I create? So, and this is about generating ideas and making them feasible and applicable. And then the prototype, I have an idea, how do I structure it? It's about structuring, prototyping, asking for feedback, and testing. I tried something new, how do I evolve it? And this it's part of this circular approach, which is very much in line with our times, not a linear approach, but a circular one. So keeping track of teaching and moving forward, so making changes. So let's see each phase a little bit more in detail very quickly. So it's important in the empathy phase to cluster different motivations. It's important to ask people precise but open-ended questions. You remember we spoke about that last year. When we exercise active listening, it's mostly about open-ended questions, so not close, not give already closed questions where people are not enabled to express themselves. And it's important to analyze the users, the stakeholder needs, behavior, attitude, also the potential improvement over current solutions. And it is important in this phase to focus on gathering useful and meaningful information only with well-designed set of questions. So prepare your question carefully, be sure of what you are asking in order to collect a comprehensive idea of the problem. Then there is the definition phase. To define correctly the problem is key to find the correct solution. So at this stage, we have to narrow down the results into a specific key objective that might be worth working on. And this is the phase where we have to group, synthesize the results of the first phase of the discovery or empathy phase. And always working in a collaborative way, we can design the so-called how might we questions, which is a question where is clear what we are looking for. The how might be question can really simplify the subsequent work and help us find the best solution. Then there is the ideate phase, so the phase in which we gather together, and we will see the short video on creative problem solving in a minute, where we generate idea. And learning to generate ideas with effective brainstorming is very important, because very often brainstorming are not carried out in a correct way, are carried out to get an immediate consensus instead of generating really creative ideas. So it's important to generate as many ideas as possible, and then try to select the feasible ideas. So there is in itself a divergent and then convergent phase. And then we can go ahead prototyping our ideas. Prototyping is about communication. A prototype is a way to let people understand how we are going to solve the problem. And trying to do that with a visual impact is very important. So a prototype makes it easier to discuss idea with other people, because it's much easier to discuss when you have something visible in hand or in sight, if you are on an online like us today. So it's very important to design a good prototype. And if you might think that is a loss of time, but in fact you get time in being able to reach the right solution, the right idea faster. And finally, the test. The test is when you really test the solution you have developed for your problem, when you also collect feedback from other people, and in this circular process, you can then go back again to check and review in a linear, not in a linear, but in a circular approach. So when we apply design thinking to problems, we can really come across very creative ideas. This is a very well-known tool that most of us have in our houses. Actually, the Dyson solution was an unexpected solution. So the legend tells that James Dyson was waiting for guests when the Hoover broke down and there was dust everywhere. And so he concentrated on a new type of vacuum cleaner, which is without a bag. The idea of building something without the bag seems impossible, no? As something that couldn't be really working. And so while other companies were focusing on developing a better vacuum cleaner filter, he realized that she had to think differently and come up with a more creative solution. So the idea of a solution which was without a bag, but with a different type of engine, which is able to separate dirt and air, and thus creating an entirely new family of vacuum cleaners. The core of creative problem solving is really, which is at the center of the design thinking approach, so not to mix the two of them. So the design thinking, as you saw, it's a process, it's the global process, and within it, at the heart, there is the creative problem solving. It's the mental process of finding an original and previously unknown solution to a problem. So the objective is to identify a solution in an unconventional way. So, and to get to this unconventional way, to this unconventional solution, in most cases, you have to change your point of view. You have to change your perspective and trying to turn the problem into an opportunity. So no longer see it as a problem, but seeing it as a platform to launch an opportunity, to reach, to attain an opportunity. So let's see the basics of the creative problem solving with a 3-minute video, and then we head us to the conclusion of this session. So as you saw, the creative problem solving, it's an important phase. It's a sorry for that. It's a facilitated process. So you can also organize yourself facilitating each other in sessions, for example, in the office. Some useful tips: always try to turn the problem into a challenge. So if we saw the problem as something having an opportunity in it, this will help us perceive it in a less critical way, and so it will be more a challenge and not an obstacle, not a hurdle. Try to suspend judgment, especially if it is negative. In a good brainstorming session, always try to suspend, to freeze your judgment, because you have to be open to any possible idea, and also because any idea, even a crazy idea, can give birth and help develop a feasible idea. Then gather data, ideas, develop an action plan. So the next step is then trying to sort out the different ideas, organizing them into an action plan. And also, what is very important in a good brainstorming session is to have a timing, set a specific timing, and we know that if the brainstorming lasts too long, then the critical thinking arises, and critical thinkings can really somehow hamper, make it very difficult the development of effective ideas. So design thinking as a possible way to solve a problem is really, as we said at the beginning, a way to exercise cognitive flexibility. It's also the ability to adapt the process to the challenges. We wanted today to summarize how the process can be applied both in personal and company problems. We are heading to the conclusion with the final brainstorming. I hope you find interesting the session, and especially I hope that you really remember the double diamond any way you are approaching, anytime you are approaching a problem. No, we cannot solve a problem only with analytical and rational thinking. We cannot solve a problem only with creativity, but we really need both of them. And what I like, I show you once again the double diamond. About the double diamond graphical representation, it's this putting together in a sequence and also with this reiterative approach, the divergent thinking and the convergent thinking. So always remember that any of us can be creative. We have creativity on board. We also have rational thinking on board, and exercising as if it were a gym in our brain, both the divergent thinking and the convergent thinking can help us, firstly, better define problems, and so better get to a clear definition of what the problem is about, and secondly, to find an effective solution. And always reiterative, in a reiterative way, we can go towards the possible solution. So to close the session, as usually, I propose you a brainstorming. Let's go and move to Mentimeter, where you can find either with the QR code or with the link that I'm sharing in the chat. Let's see which are the keywords, the 3 keywords of today's session, and then we will see together how we are going to apply the double diamond, the design thinking approach, the different phases and structure we saw in your daily life. So thank you, as usual, to those who break the ice. So we saw design thinking, problem solving, growing. As you remember, always the words which are the most selected one will grow bigger in our word cloud. So I see creativity, efficacy growing, design thinking at the center of the word cloud, empathy. Thank you for choosing empathy, one of my favorite words. Generate ideas, creativity, but also efficacy. And also remember, we were taught a lot in school about rational thinking, no? Descartes for the French one, Cartesio for the Italians, but also the creative part, the divergent thinking. It's a key tool we have on board to solve problems, but we cannot solve problems only with one of them. So not only too rational, too divergent, but a good mixture of the two. And so design thinking, empathy, creativity, problem solving, generate ideas, efficacy, double diamond, very, very interesting representation. So let's go ahead on the following questions. So how are you going to apply the themes we explored today? which is then the practical application of such double diamond and such reiterative process to solve problems. So let's see some comments about possible practical applications. There are many components as we saw today in the process. So in managing my daily life, by redesigning the problems in a different way. So really, as we saw it before, the problem framing, to frame the problem as an opportunity, approach creatively and analyze the problem before jumping to solutions. In any project daily proposed, I will try to transform my problems into challenges. And it's a lot about mindset and joining facing problems. It seems a little bit queer, but it can be interesting. I'm going to apply in my daily work or personal needs, trying to see the problem as a possibility and not as an obstacle. Gathering point of views of my colleagues to see different point of views. Thinking about problems using a different method. I will pay more attention on other people's suggestions when we are speaking about a problem solution. Yeah, so including many point of views, many different ideas. Identify and define the problem, state the problem as clearly as possible, generate possible solution. By redesigning the problem in a different way, I will apply during my working and daily life where many problems come often. I'll try to find also an opportunity from every problem, have a better structure to solve things and learn, and trying to have an open listening and creative approach. So already many ideas on how to integrate design thinking, so problem solving with design thinking in your daily work. So don't forget the double diamond, very easy and simple representation, but according to me, very effective and easy to remember. So thank you again for your participation, for your interaction in the brainstorming with Mentimeter. It's always a pleasure for me to share with you. I'm a fan of design thinking. I really believe it's a mindset. It's a way of approaching problems. So I give the floor to Giuseppe for a conclusion, and thank you again.
Thank you, Monica. As usual, you provide very valuable tools. This training lesson was incredibly interesting to me. So I will try to approach this methodology that you taught us with, and also in my daily life. So thank you, Monica, again, and thank you all for taking part to this training path and for sharing this moment together every Wednesday. Just want to say that in 2 Wednesday we're going to have another masterclass, so I'm very happy to you already saw the schedule in your agenda. So we have Teresa, and in two weeks that she will guide us through a very nice, very interesting masterclass. And so my input for all of you is to take part to the training class, not only by participating, by careful listening, but also by active participation. And so I thank you for every time for your inputs. It's very important also to create together some learning path. Again, thank you, Monica. Thank you, Gabriele, as usual. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks with Teresa for a masterclass and with Monica next month.
Okay, so see you. Ciao.
Ciao.
Have a nice
Ciao.
day.
Bye,
Good
everybody.
afternoon. Arrivederci. Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao a tutti.
Ciao.
Ciao.